If the number of your nocturnal erections comes down by 50%, you have a close to 50% chance of having a cardiovascular event in the next 2 to 3 years.
What does longevity mean to you?
Well, longevity means a healthy lifespan, but I take the definition a little bit beyond what most people who want to hack health take. We talk a lot about work-life balance, improving our lifespan through changes in diet, exercise, supplements, etc. But I talk about work-life sex balance and increasing our sex span, because our sexual health is vital to our overall health.
Do you think there's something fundamental that men should understand about women's sexual health so that partners can support each other?
It's always a dicey question to ask a man about women.
I know, right?
They don't like us, making presumptions. So I do think, I'll just put this. I think that frequent sex for women is going to be just as important as frequent sex for men.
Hello and welcome to the BioAge Index. My name's Grant Hutchby and I'll be your host. This show is for founders, owners and executives with high-performing operators who want to understand three things. Where am I now? Where am I heading? And how many years of optimal life can I reclaim? Because the purpose is simple. We want to live better, longer. And that means more energy, less drag, sharper thinking, better recovery, stronger relationships, and a body that supports the life that you're trying to build. The mechanism that we use is timing. Your body runs on rhythm, sequence, and structure. What you do matters, but when you do it matters even more. And today's conversation is about one of the biological signals that most people avoid, which is sexual health. Not from a bedroom tips angle, but from a longevity angle. Sexual health is connected to blood flow, cardiovascular health, sleep quality, recovery, stress, hormones, confidence, and obviously relationship connection. Most high-performing people track sleep, HRV, steps, training, calories, body composition, you name it, but they often ignore one of the most sensitive signals that their biology may be drifting. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Elliot Justin. Elliot is an emergency medicine physician, telehealth founder, and the creator of FirmTech, which is a wearable system that measures male sexual health data, including nocturnal erections, firmness, duration, and also frequency. He is also developing technology for female sexual health, which opens up a bigger question. What health data has medicine ignored because people were too uncomfortable to measure it? Elliot, welcome to the BioAge Index. Before we get into the device, the data, and the sexual health conversation, I want to start with the question that I'll be asking every guest moving forward, which is, what does longevity mean to you?
Well, longevity means a healthy lifespan, but I take the definition a little bit beyond what most people who want to hack health take. We talk a lot about work-life balance, improving our lifespan through changes in diet, exercise, supplements, etc. But I talk about work-life sex balance and increasing our sex span, because our sexual health is vital to our overall health and reflection of our cardiovascular health. And doctors say the penis is the canary in the coal mine of cardiovascular disease. So that's longevity to me means not just work-life balance, but work-life sex balance and enjoying a longer life of lovemaking, one that we all aspire to.
Okay, cool. And what led you to starting FirmTech and the device that you built for male sexual health?
Well, the background, I'm an emergency medicine physician, and short of a heart attack or a stroke, there are a few emergencies that concern a man as much as a consistently limp penis. I think a man is probably mentally only as good as the last 2 or 3 erections. Probably if a guy's failed consistently, at least in the United States, we should take his guns away from him. They've already done that to you in the UK. Maybe he shouldn't be allowed to drive a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So, I think we just to acknowledge how critical sex is to our self-esteem and overall health. So, there were 2 pathways that led me to what we've created. One is I got very interested in telehealth. Founded the second oldest telehealth company in the world, after Teladoc in the United States. And why did I found that? I wanted to ideally give people information at home utilizing this device that we all have that's smarter than every doctor in the world, the cell phone, that would help them to prevent getting medical problems and to have medical problems to manage them better, more effectively and more intelligently. That's one pathway. So I became an expert in remote patient management sensor technologies. The other pathway is I live in Montana and I ride horses. My wife says I ride like a 15-year-old. I think I ride at least like the maturity of a 25-year-old. But next Valley over Paradise Valley, I was riding on a trail several years ago, very fast, and some do-gooder had cut a tree that had fallen over the trail so you could walk underneath it, but you couldn't ride underneath it. So I shattered that tree with my chest. I broke 6 ribs and 6 vertebrae. Fortunately, did not damage my spinal cord, but it got me interested in what's been done to rehabilitate sexual function in men and women who have had a spinal cord injury. So there were several papers in the medical literature claiming that they were able to neuromodulate human sexual response by placing an electrode by the pudendal and cavernous nerves, everyone's 2 favorite nerves that no one ever heard about or talks about. These are nerves that in men and women that are responsible for arousal and climax. Medical literature, the phrase literature always amuses me because unfortunately most of it's not reproducible. Most of it is fiction, as most of us certainly have learned after COVID. So here were these 6 papers in the peer-reviewed literature making this claim that they're able to pace human sexuality the way we pace the heart by placing an electrode in the heart. I conducted an experiment on 2 rams, male sheep, and was able to get erection ejaculation, but also got defecation and urination. So it wasn't quite bedroom friendly. And now I had 2 pathways. I could either go raise a bunch of money in California and go down to Nigeria or Brazil and find 25 men with ED and implant electrodes, see what happened. But instead, I went to a friendly urology surgeon at the University of California, San Francisco, and had him implant an electrode underneath my pubic bone by my pudendal and cavernous nerves. And we tried all different voltages and frequencies, and I felt nothing, a little tingle. I don't actually think that you understand the neurophysiology of human sexual response. My wife thinks it's Aphrodite. I'll stick with that one for the time being until science gives more information. So that was that. I called that Project O for obvious reasons. So now we have these 2 pathways, Project O, which is a failure, and we have my knowledge about sensor technology and telemedicine. 4 years ago, a urology professor at the University of Utah heard about this and said, "Hey, Elliot, I want to come up with a way of counting the number of nocturnal erections." And I said, "What the heck for? Why do we care? We know about morning wood. We laugh about morning wood." He said, "Because your number of nocturnal erections is a leading indicator of your cardiovascular health. The penis is a canary in the coal mine of cardiovascular and sexual disease." Now, that took me aback. 1, I was ignorant about the significance of nocturnal erections. And 2, in medicine, we don't have a lot of leading indicators. In integrative health, we don't have a lot of leading indicators either, because leading indicators are predictive. They're not associations. So, not talking about some marker of your heart health like ApoB or liver proteins that are associated with heart disease. We're talking about something that's predictive. We're not talking about some elevation in your blood pressure that just is a signal. They're not predictive. My blood pressure goes from 120 to 140. It's not telling me anything. It goes to 200, then it's a problem. So leading indicators, this would be a really profound vital sign. So why is the penis so predictive? Because before you have significant changes in the larger arteries in your heart, you get changes in your microvasculature, those tiny arteries. The 2 arteries systems that are most sensitive to these changes that we can appreciate easily, doctors that is, are the retina or the penis. The retina via retinogram, well, it's really hard to get a retinogram in the United States. You got to wait about 8 to 10 weeks to make an appointment. And I don't know how long it takes in the UK to get a retinogram. Probably takes a long time. I had a doctor in Canada the other day.
Probably longer.
It takes a year in Canada to get a retinogram. So then there's the penis. So to have a wearable that could be worn overnight that would tell you your nocturnal erection data and have it be predictive about your cardiovascular and sexual health, that would be profoundly valuable. So what's being predicted here? If the number of your nocturnal erections comes down by 50%, you have a close to 50% chance of having a cardiovascular event in the next 2 to 3 years. Well, that's a big number. So a healthy man should have 3 to 5 nocturnal erections per night. They should last about 40 minutes on average, and they should be about a 6 in firmness on a 1 to 10 firmness scale that our device provides people. So this is life-saving, potentially life-saving technology. We've had men, I'll just give you the extreme examples. We've had 6 men that we're aware of get cardiac catheterizations, meaning the device, they had sexual problems. Their wives bought them the device to demonstrate the sexual problem was not with the wife. And these guys found out they had significant heart problems. At the other extreme, we've had 5 men not get penile implants because they thought that their erectile dysfunction was so bad they needed an implant, but it turned out they had nocturnal erections, and the problem was psychological or alcohol related.
Wow, so interesting. So let's circle back to cardiovascular health. So a lot of people that I work with, they look at things like you've just mentioned. So they look at their cholesterol, they look at their ApoB, we look at like their resting heart rate and their heart rate variability and things like that. How does this device make it better than looking at all of those markers?
Well, I think we should look at those markers. To my mind, are important, but they're not. But they're simply not predictive. They're only predictive at the extremes. I'll put it this way: if you're, I'll throw out a number. Hey, my cholesterol goes from 160 to 240. It's not telling me anything. Now, if it goes to 400, I got a problem. The same thing with ApoB and a lot of these other markers. They really only become predictive, and even then they're not predictive that you can say, hey, my ApoB is whatever, and now I'm going to have a heart attack. They're associations. They're not predictive. And in my opinion, we really should only pay significant attention to them when they're not in the sort of 10 to 50% of the normal range, but when they're really outside. We need to my mind, we need to expand the normal range, because I see the integrated doctors making the same mistake that the conventional doctors make. Conventional doctors, we overtreat problems and we continually lower the threshold. I mean, it used to be that you had to have a blood pressure 140, my career, 140 over 90 to say you had high blood pressure. And then it became 130 over 90. And then it became anything 130 over anything. And then it became, and the same thing with cholesterol, low proteins. We end up throwing a lot of medicines and worry on people who necessarily aren't going to necessarily are likely not to benefit from them. And these medicines often have unpredicted side effects, as we're now learning with the statins, for example, in terms of cognition, muscles, and other problems. I think what I like on the integrative side is I think a lot of what we recommend, and I'm partially integrative, I would say, are at least I know they're not going to do harm. Whereas that's not the truth of a lot of the medications that doctors prescribe. When it comes to sexual health, for example, the SSRIs and antihypertensive medications are often erection killers, and we doctors don't even warn people about these things. So, getting back to your question, numbers can be misleading, and we all want to optimize our health. But chasing numbers is not necessarily the best way to do that. We also need to look at functional outcomes and functional performance, as well. Like Grant, if we went into my bathroom right now, there are like 10 supplements that I take. I really only think 3 of them work, are proven to work, but I have hopes. But the data from a device like ours is predictive. That's profoundly valuable.
What would you say is the simple way of explaining the difference between associations and predictive?
Well, I would say associations are potential signals of problems. Predictive is we can actually say you have this much a percentage of having this bad outcome if the data is sending the signal.
Okay, then. So that it makes a lot of sense with what you're saying around the numbers are useful, but actually what you're measuring with your device is functionality, which is like when you go to the gym, you can test your functionality, can't you? It's a similar thing with your device. You're actually testing the functionality of your body, which gives us predictors for cardiovascular disease, right?
That's right. I mean, look at the way in which we treat testosterone. We chase a number, but the numbers are important, but there's not just the blood level. What we can't measure with testosterone, for example, are your testosterone receptors. And everyone's testosterone receptors are variable. And therefore, the number, to some degree, is fuzzy. because the number is not telling us about the functional outcome, which is not just a question of the testosterone in, but the availability of receptors to utilize that testosterone.
Yeah, that makes sense, because you can have totally different testosterone levels to someone else, but be able to build muscle, have confidence, have all the things that testosterone gives you with a lower testosterone level to someone else, right?
Yeah, well, you could have two men, same age, same physical condition, both are low T, give them the same dose of testosterone, and one person responds objectively and functionally, and the other person doesn't, because because if we can't measure testosterone receptors, we need to measure. Well, we never will be able to. We need to measure the functional outcomes, and we need to ask the right questions. So when it comes to testosterone, the questions that we ask are, in the United States, how's your energy, how's your sleep, and how's your libido? Well, these are all fuzzy questions. They're not quantifiable. Everyone wants more energy. Everyone wants to sleep better, and no one knows what the fuck libido even means. Like, the questions we should be asking are, what is your nocturnal blood flow? How are your nocturnal erections? Because now we have a database. We have a database at FirmTech of close to 5,000 men. So you're comparing yourself to thousands of men. So am I above average, below average in the duration of firmness, a number of my nocturnal erections? And then in terms of energy, what we should be doing is either going to a gym and getting a bioimpedance measurement of our muscles, or just put a tape measure around your biceps and your quads, your biceps and your pectoral muscles as your baseline. Then take T, and then I expect men who are low T to gain 5 to 12% in upper body strength, if they're doing resistance training. And then when it comes to libido, the question we should be asking is, how often a week are you initiating sex, and how often a week are you receptive to sex? And now we can quantify what, obviously some guy tells me, I'm low T and I want to have sex 30 times a day. That ain't happening again. We can't make you 14 years old again. But we can take men who have seen their receptivity and the initiation of sex go, deteriorate in the 30s and 40s from several times a week to several times a month. We can right dose their free T in order to achieve that functional outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned, and this, what I find really interesting, and it could be a massive problem with people, and this device can really help with it, is that you could have a physical problem or a psychological problem. And I guess how would you approach either or? So if you've got a physical problem, how would you approach that? And if you've got a psychological problem, how would you approach that?
Well, let's just step back a moment and define erectile dysfunction, because that's the definition itself is fundamentally flawed. So the definition of erectile dysfunction, according to the International Society for Sexual Medicine, is, first clause, inability to get erection or difficulty sustaining erection. There's difficulty getting erection. Inability to get an erection or difficulty getting erection. That is only about 12 to 13% of men. So what's going on with these men? And if any of your listeners have that problem, it's simply, you're not getting enough blood into your penis to get an erection. If that's your problem, you likely are diabetic, have a significant metabolic problem, or have a cardiovascular problem. Either your heart is not pumping enough blood to the penis, you have angina, congestive heart failure, myocarditis, endocarditis, some cardiovascular condition, or you're narrow, then the arteries going from the penis from the heart to your penis are getting narrowed due to diabetes, hypertension, atherosclerosis. And that's only 12 to 13% of men. And that's real dysfunction. That is erectile dysfunction. And our device can be, I can't call it diagnostic, but our device is a diagnostic aid to assessing that problem. These men will have inadequate nocturnal erections, and these men should see a cardiologist and their urologist. Second part of the definition is difficulty maintaining an erection. Well, that's all men. It's all men as we get older. So these are men who get an erection and then lose it. Now, the conventional approach to this is, we want to try to get at the root causes but the immediate solution is we got to keep the blood in. The PD-5 medications, Viagra, Cialis, that have become the mainstay of treating erectile dysfunction, they put a little more blood in, but they don't keep it there. And the problem is men who are getting erection and losing it, whether they're losing it because loss of confidence, They're losing it because the baby cried in the next room. They're worried about paying the mortgage. They shouldn't have had that fourth cocktail. They're worried about Starmer and the Labour Party in England, whatever, or they're taking medications that we doctors prescribe, antidepressants and hypertensives that have a negative impact upon their sexual performance. Whatever it is, the goal of therapy is to keep blood in, and only a ring will do that. Pills will not accomplish that. So obviously, it's important to be in good cardiovascular health for sex. It's always embarrassing if you got a lie on your back after a few thrusts. But the acute solution is a ring. So we've misdefined dysfunction. We have as we often do in medicine, we have pathologized something that's normal. Guys who struggle to get up, can't get up, cardiovascular, metabolic problem, too proven otherwise. Guys who get up and lose it. The acute solution is a ring, but figuring out what it is, the data can help you. The data can, so if a guy is having strong nocturnal erection data, he has his problem in the bed is psychological or in the relationship or alcohol, something of that nature. So you can't really hack your sexuality unless you can track your sexuality with data.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I guess in terms of sexual health as a longevity pillar, thank you for doing my longevity quiz, and obviously you posed a question as to why sexual health wasn't in there. It was nice to see that you came out younger than your actual age, which is good, which shows that you've got really good health habits. I guess, where do you think then sexual health sits in terms of a weekly or daily behavior that would promote like longevity, so people that want to live better, longer lives?
Well, the benefits of regular sex are glaring. I'll just cite several examples. Big study out of Wales a few years ago. Thousands of men over the age of 70 indicating that men over the age of 70 have sex more than 3 times a week versus less than 3 times a month cut their risk of sudden cardiac death by 50%. Well, you're going to die anyway, but that's a huge number. And hey, the response to that study should have been doctors recommending that men have sex regularly. Men who have sex once a week decrease their risk of prostate cancer by 50%. Men who have sex every day decrease their cortisol, stress hormone levels, by 30 to 50%. Hey, that's more powerful than antidepressant. Certainly more powerful than drinking. Then if the more frequently we have sex, the higher our natural T. The more we have sex, the better our cardiovascular and muscle health. In older men, it helps prevent osteoporosis.
We cut off Dr. Elliot Justin. So we were talking about sexual health and the definition of sexual health and how having sex on a regular basis can cut your risk of mortality.
That's right. The benefits of regular sex are extraordinary. Men who have sex once a week decrease their risk of prostate cancer by 50%. Men who have sex every day, which I recommend, cut their cortisol levels by 30 to 50%. Men who have the big study out of the United Kingdom several years ago, looking at thousands of men over the age of 70, men who had sex 3 times a week versus men who had sex less than 3 times a month, cut the risk of sudden cardiac death by 50%. And we doctors should be writing prescriptions for this. And then just think about the benefits of sex to relationships. Sex is the glue. Sex is what makes a relationship between a husband and a partner, husband and wife, different than with a best friend or a coworker. What keeps the relationship from being just about logistics, bills, parenting, paying the mortgage. Sex is not just one part of the bond. Sex is teamwork at its best. Sex smothers stress. Heck, sex keeps the lawyers away. So, and people who get divorced have many negative health outcomes, as has been well established, and the impact on the children of a divorce or separation is profound as well too. They make less money. They're less likely to finish college. They're more likely to drink alcohol. They're more likely to commit violent crimes. So I think the benefits of regular sex are profound. And if we had enlightened governments, your country or our country, our ministers of health would be saying, "Hey, You want to do something for the nation? Make love. Get it on.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. What would you say, apart from the obvious, the relationship benefit, what would you say the physiological difference between having sex and masturbating?
That's a great question. And there really is no, I've looked for research on this, and there's really no solid research. Obviously, the primary benefit of having sex, if you're in a relationship, is it's the glue of the relationship. It's what maintains the intimacy. But in terms of the physiological benefits of a orgasm that's masturbated or orgasm with a partner, there's some soft data indicating that there's more of an oxytocin release, another stress-related hormone, with sex with the partner. But it has very, very small numbers, Grant, and I really can't say that it's true.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. We like to work on conclusive data. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that if someone can't have sex every day, it would be of massive benefit to them to at least masturbate every day. Correct?
That's correct. And I don't. We're inhibited about these things. I mean, there's nothing in the electronic health record in the United States or the United Kingdom, and tragically today, doctors, they work by electronic health record tells them what to ask and what needs to be documented. There's nothing about sexual health, and people want to say that it's because we're inhibited about talking about sex. That's part of it, but doctors ask questions about shit, piss, vomit, diarrhea, pus, all sorts of things that are truly disgusting, and yet we don't ask about sex. And speaking for the United States right now, if there was a box to check and a doctor can make another $25, $35 by asking those questions, the question would be asked. The key question every man should ask themselves is, do I struggle to get it up, or do I get it up and then lose it? If you struggle to get it up, that's a problem, and it's highly likely, especially as you get older, to be a cardiovascular metabolic problem. If you get it up and then lose it, the data will help you sort it out. But a ring is, a ring is the answer. We have this enormous we have a database of 250,000 erections. It's the largest database in the world. I have world-renowned neurologists on my scientific advisory board. The incidence of erectile dysfunction under the official definition goes up 10% per decade after age 30. By my age, 70%. The expectation was that as the incidence of erectile dysfunction went up, the number of nocturnal erections will come down, the firm's nocturnal erections will come down, and the firm's sex erection will come down. And that didn't happen. And this revises the conventional wisdom. If men are reporting more erectile dysfunction, but yet men in their 60s are just as hard as men in their 30s, what could be accounting for that? Well, what's accounting for that is that we're treating the aging process as if it's something that's pathological, and that's a problem.
Yeah,
I'll put it this way, Grant: how many men who age 30 can answer this question, saying I'm okay? Okay, man age 30 or 40 or anyone of your executives listening to this, do I run as fast now as I did when I was 20? Now, for most people who don't physically train at running, and I don't run as fast as I did at age 20. Do I have RD, running dysfunction? No, I don't. I'm getting older. So we need to think about that when men are looking at their sexual health. But you need a device ideally in order to figure it out. Otherwise, you're just guessing.
Yeah, it's interesting. We spoke before on our call previously about the using data to make decisions, and that's what my system is all about. And I've got an interesting theory. It's a very simple theory, and it's quite interesting that you mentioned running. And I can't remember the exact fact, but it's something like 95% of people over the age of 35 never sprint again. And I fundamentally believe that if you don't use it, you lose it. And it's got to be exactly the same with sexual health. If you're using it every single day, then you're likely to keep it working, right?
Exactly. Well, one, you're going to maintain your confidence. Two, you're going to maintain your skills, so to speak, but you're also maintaining the blood flow and the muscle tone. Sexual function to a large degree is not a skeletal muscle function. The skeletal muscles are the muscles that we can control. And by the way, your point about sprinting is spot on, because I suck at sprinting now. I used to love to sprint. And frankly, Grant, as a result of this conversation, you've changed my life. I'm going to start sprinting again. At my age, I'll jog a little bit, but I don't actually push myself, and I've lost confidence, but also muscle memory and muscle ability in that area. When it comes to sexual health, a lot of it is smooth muscles, getting more blood in to the penis, is smooth muscle function. You can't improve your sexual health in the gym. Now, granted, you overall, if you're overweight, if you have poor pelvic floor tone, yes, there are some can tweak, so to speak, your sexual health and sexual performance. But it is use it or lose it, and more frequent sex. Frequent sex maintains one's confidence. It maintains the blood flow. And frankly, it also alerts one to problems early before they become too late. I have men who get my device because they're widowed or they're divorced and they're older, and they don't masturbate. They haven't had sex for a long period of time, and then they go to bed with someone, usually younger than them, and they fail, or they're worried about failing, and they don't know where the problem is mental or where the problem is physical. And the device helps them sort it out. It is use it or lose it. As well too, if men go for a long time without having sex, the penis will actually atrophy and shrink in size.
Yeah, that makes sense. So some of our core pillars when I teach my longevity program are sleep, energy, stress, recovery, all of those things. How does sexual health improve those particular pillars? Like, how does sexual health improve your sleep, improve your stress, improve your daily energy, improve your ability to recover from stress? Like, how does it help with that?
Well, it has a major impact upon our cortisol levels, upon the stress hormone.
Okay.
Success has a major impact upon our cognition. The sex and sleep is a very interesting one. I mean, I'm looking for a sleep doctor right now to do a study about sex and sleep, because anecdotally, my experience and experience of patients and customers is that if you have sex before you go to bed, you sleep better. You fall asleep faster, you sleep longer. But I can't say it's proven, but I would say it's far more likely than not that sex before to bed will have that impact. Now, people want to talk about but testosterone peaks in the morning, therefore men should have sex in the morning. There's a lot more to sexual response than just your testosterone level. I think the relationship between sex and sleep is probably profound. I think the relationship between sex and cognition has been established. The relationship between sex and as something that helps men to resist depression and anxiety is profound as well too.
Yeah, I do you know what? I think that it's a thing that you can do for free every single day that has no negative benefit, no negative outcome from it. So it's only going to be positive for you, right?
Absolutely. Right now, people say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, I don't know if that's true. An apple a day. It's a fruit. It's healthy. It has some other benefits to it. I like to say an orgasm a day keeps the doctor away, because they're the things I just mentioned before. An orgasm a day will help you with your prostate health, help you with your energy, help you with your heart, make you happier. It's really, people shouldn't, and also it is a sort of mentally use it or lose it. People lose confidence. And one of the things that really saddens me today, stresses me frankly, is people having less sex than they had before. And they talk about how their lives are more stressful today. Is that really true? Is our life really more stressful than someone in the 19th century? We have all these things, these aids that make our lives so much easier. I think we're very performance oriented and proud, and I think we put off having. Many people just put off having sex, and then they lose their confidence. I live here in Bozeman, Montana. This is an extraordinarily fit town. I go to a gym. People are in really great shape. But because people know what I'm doing, they'll come to me and they'll talk to me about their problems. My wife and I are only having sex a couple of times a month. And you look at these people and think, my God, you're incredibly fit. What's going on? And there's like, well, there's stress in the marriage, there's stress with work, there's things with the kids, and they kind of like look to like date nights as being the answer. Well, if you can have a date night once a week, and that's your sex night as well too, you likely drink too much and end up complaining about each other, and not end up having sex half the time. These same people, we rely too much on spontaneity. I think people need to plan for pleasure. Just the way we plan our diet in order to be healthier, we plan I don't go to the gym and think spontaneously, well, what do I do today? Well, I may do a little bit of that. No, I go to the gym. I rather have a plan on my phone or work out with a trainer. It's structured. Now, I'm not saying that sex necessarily should be structured, but maybe you do need a whiteboard in your bedroom. Grant, I'm a really good cook. I'm drawing an analogy. I'm a really good cook. If you came to Bozeman, Montana, it wouldn't, and I invite you for dinner, it wouldn't be, ooh, the doorbell rang. Grant's here. What am I going to cook? I got some leftover chicken and some hot sauce. No, I would plan a meal for you. Now, we might not stick totally to some structure with that meal, but overall, I'm going to plan from an aperitif to dessert. People need to approach their love lives the same way. You need to plan for pleasure. Sexual pleasure needs to be a regular part of people's lives, several times a week. And if that requires actually putting it in your calendar, then do it. Because once you're going to enjoy it, and once you get into it, it's a lot easier. I'll put it this way: I'd much rather plan my sex life than plan a brutal exercise routine.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I put it this way: I never want to quit during sex. I do sometimes. I'm working out with a trainer. Part of my mind starts making excuses. Oh, it hurts too much, or I'm exhausted. No, sex is a lot easier than what you or I probably do at the gym.
Yeah, and on a really serious note, like my main concept is it's not just about what you do; it's about when and how you do it. So it's all about timing, rhythm, and structure. So if people are actually planning to have sex every day, or at least 4 or 5 times a week, it makes sure that they are prioritizing not only their relationship, but also their longevity and health at the same time, which it is huge for everyone. I know that there's probably, if people watching this have got some burning questions around supplements that you can take and things that you can do to improve your sexual performance, maybe even for both men and women, because I know that women get erections as well, in a very similar way to the way that men do. So what, through the data that you've managed to collate, because you said you've measured over 250,000 erections, what through that data have you found out with supplements and protocols that you can do?
Well, people look for magic fixes, and supplements are one of them. We've had quite a few companies come to us and want us to test their magic supplement. We haven't found any that work. Honey goatweed, maca root, funga nawanda, L-arginine, L-citrulline, beetroot. We have not found a single supplement to improve nocturnal erections. Now, they might have placebo effect, and actually they might have the Hawthorne effect is even more powerful than the placebo effect. The Hawthorne effect is when someone tells you something's going to do something and you take it. It's more like that. That's even more powerful than the placebo effect. We don't know what the outcome's going to be. And I suspect that's what's going on with a lot of these supplements. Theoretically, things like nitric oxide should work. But you and I are into data, so does it actually work? I'd like to say that where the hopes, there are dopes. And when it comes to the multi-billion supplement industry, there's a lot of credulity. And I say that as someone who's got, I have supplements in my bathroom that I take, like nattokinase for my heart. Is it really working? I don't know, but it's not going to do any harm. The good thing about these supplements for men is that they don't do any harm. And I've had men who swear by L-arginine or nitric oxide or beetroot, beet juice, get our device, have the device demonstrate to them that no, you're not getting any more nocturnal blood flow, and still swear by the device. Now when it comes to the PD5 medications, Viagra and Cialis being the big ones, With the data, you can actually figure out what's the right dose. Is it, for tadalafil, Cialis, 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams. For myself, I take 5 every day. I get a little more nocturnal blood flow with them, but it has no impact upon the firmness or duration of my sexual erections whatsoever. So why would I take 10 or 20? But the male mentality without data is, hey, 5, they tell me 5 is going to be good, I'll take 10. I want to take 20. So we have not found any supplements to be particularly effective. The PD5 medications actually work best in combination with a ring, because the PD5 medication, the erection pills, put more blood in, but they don't keep it there. The rings keep it there. We have found some of the alternative therapies to be effective, and this has been interesting as well too, because lots of so for example, Botox injections. We know they can make the penis bigger, longer, but do they increase blood flow? Well, there's a physician in London who demonstrated, utilizing our technology, that Botox can increase nocturnal blood flow. Penis pumps. We know that they can help men recover from prostate surgery who have atrophy. We know that they increase the length of the penis, but do they increase blood flow? Yes, it turns out they do. And this is surprising to most urologists. Most urologists felt that the pump is just stretching the tissue. They didn't actually think it would increase blood flow. Shockwave therapy. The shockwave doctors will shock anything, but the device can tell you whether you're actually going to benefit from it. So we have men who buy our device beforehand. If you're a guy you're having average or above average nocturnal erections, you don't have vascular disease. It's highly unlikely you're going to benefit from shockwave therapy, other than as a placebo or effect. But if you have decreased nocturnal erections, and you have a vascular disease, diabetes, hypertension, or just you're morbidly obese, the shockwave therapy will increase blood flow into your penis. So utilizing this technology, men can demonstrate, can suddenly unmask what really works, what doesn't work. In the biohacking world, a lot of men have this notion that a sexual fast will recharge their testosterone or their dopamine. I'll go without sex for a month, 2 months, and I'm going to come back even stronger. Well, anecdotally, I've not seen that, and I've challenged, I don't want to mention their names, but the two of the American and the European leaders who have this belief, okay, well, prove it. And they haven't taken advantage. They have the tech ring, but they haven't taken advantage of it to demonstrate, well, is this true? Does a sexual fast actually improve your sexual health? I'm skeptical. I'm open. Maybe it does, but I'm skeptical about that.
Yeah. So obviously, if anyone listening to this feels like they have problems in the bedroom or problems getting or keeping an erection, apart from obviously getting your device and actually measuring what the problem is, where would you suggest they start?
I think you have to get your data. We're not the only company doing this. There's one other company in the UK. They're called Atom. I'll mention them. Their product is as good as ours at measuring nocturnal erections, their duration, their firmness. What their product can't do is it can't be worn during sex. So it does not assess someone's sexual performance. It just measures the nocturnal erection performance. And nor does their device function as an erection ring, meaning it does not optimize sexual performance. But I don't see how I can really approach this problem without data. Now, I'm confident, Grant, that if we have this conversation 5 years from now, what we're doing will become a standard of care for men's sexual health. And frankly, a standard of care in the assessment of men over the age of 35 or 45. If you and I went to a doctor, regular doctor, or integrative doctor, and they just said, "Hey, Grant, man, you look awesome. By the way, you look like you're really fit. What are you even doing here? Leave." You would think, "No, I want some tests. I want to try to make my health objective. I expect blood tests, maybe imaging tests." But when it comes to men's sexual health right now, it's just take a pill. And that's stupid. It's actually offensively stupid, because we should be asking questions. Is your problem you can't get it up? Is your problem you get up and lose it? We should be asking under what circumstances you have sexual problems. And we should want data as well. If we without data, we're back in the 1900s. We're just treating people on the basis of opinion, of conjecture. So my goal with what we're doing is for this type of data to become embedded in the clinical workflows for the overall health assessment of men and soon women, because we're working on a device to measure the health of clitoris as well.
Yeah, and I think you're 100% right, and that's why I've jumped on the bandwagon of helping people with their health and longevity using data. I feel like wearables and understanding data, and doctors to be able to understand how to interpret the data when people go into a clinician, to be able to advise them correctly on their health and prescribe things that might not be a pill, that might be something that they're not doing in their life, like masturbating on a regular basis or having sex on a regular basis or running, sprinting, like you mentioned before, and exercising in a certain way, that they can actually prescribe things in the right way, which is I'm on the same bandwagon as that. So, but circling back to pills. So somebody that can't maybe get or maintain an erection might take Viagra. You mentioned to me in a previous call, and what I found very, very interesting was you have another device, is that right, that actually helps you keep an erection?
Yeah, well, all of our rings can do that. The problem, but we have one that's specifically designed specifically for that effect. I mean, the challenge. I mean, Grant, I got into this for the data. Urologists challenged me with coming in with a way of assessing nocturnal erection parameters as leading indicators of cardiovascular and sexual health. But in order to come up with a device that could be worn overnight, we had to change the cock ring. These rings are made the same, these O-rings are made the same way for the last 150 years. They're made out of hard silicone. You have to have a full erection for them to work effectively. And they pinch, they're uncomfortable, they cause the circulation. And essentially, you're lynching your penis for the sake of having a hard-on for 20 minutes. I mean, it's kind of stupid. So our rings are made out of a soft elastomer. They allow the arterial blood to flow in. They only constrain the venous return, so they're safe. They can be worn for longer periods of time. Having come up with the ring for the data, though, a ring that can be worn for long periods of time and get out of these O-rings you get in sex toy stores, my thought was, how can we actually enhance and optimize a man's performance with a ring? Well, so we designed two other rings, the performance ring, which has no technology, and the maximum performance ring. The performance ring, I would say, is more for men who, if you will, have no experience with erection rings. It's more comfortable. It can be adjusted and made tighter. But the maximum performance ring was specifically designed to do two things. One, in a research study, to be shown to be as effective, and for many men, more effective than 10 milligrams of tadalafil. So we looked at detumescence, the time it takes for erection to go down after climax. With nothing, it was 25, 35 seconds. With tadalafil, it was about 2 minutes. With the ring, it was closer to 3 minutes. And with both together, it was over 4 minutes. The takeaway for that for all men should be put a ring on it, take a pill. But the ring being a non-pill solution, that's something that men could do first. With the ring was also, maximum performance ring was also designed to increase the ejaculatory phase of a man. Well, women have vibrators and men have shit. So the longer the ejaculatory phase, the more profound the orgasm. So 95% of men using the maximum performance ring are able to increase their ejaculatory phase by around 50%. My ejaculatory phase goes from 4 seconds to 7 seconds. That's an incredible orgasm. And I don't have sex without or without a ring right now. And why is that? Because it's better. Well, my wife's idea of foreplay is, toss a ring at me and put some red lipstick on. I'm a guy. I'm easy. But I 4 years ago, if you told me, Elliot, what do you think about erection rings or cock rings? I would have said, Grant, I'm good. I don't need that. That's what most guys think. And now my thought is, they make my performance great. They take me from good to great. And I didn't understand that 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I thought that rings were A, uncomfortable, and B, they're for guys who really have problems. And now I realize they're for everyone, because there are things that are unnatural, if you will, that make life better. So I cook on a stove. So do you. I don't go out in the yard and get some sticks together and make a fire. When I run, I wear running shoes. I don't run barefoot. When I ride a horse, I use a saddle. So there, these are optimizers of performance. And for some reason, there's a resistance on the part of men, especially straight men, to using rings, and they're wrong.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what you're saying makes perfect sense. Where you got blood flow in there, you're just cutting off the blood flow so it doesn't leave.
We're cutting off the outflow, and not completely,
The
because we
outflow,
want to be.
yeah.
Yeah, when it's like you got the sink turned wide open. You're letting blood in. Now the ring constrains a little bit, so now the sink is running in at like 85%. But on the other side, on the outflow side, you're plugging it so it's only about 50% is leaving. So you're safely keeping yourself harder. You're lasting longer, and you're going to have more intense orgasm. That's what everyone should want.
yeah. I would want that. So you touched on that you're developing technology for women as well. What is it you're developing, and how is this all relevant to women's sexual health as well as men?
Well, it's well established that the penis is the canary in the coal mine of men's cardiovascular and sexual health. We know that women have nocturnal clitoral erections, but no one has really studied this since Madison and Johnson. It kind of blows my mind that no one else is doing this stuff. I mean, the technology that we're using is 20 years old. And when you think about the importance of sexual health to women, especially as much as to men, it's profound. So our thesis, we haven't proven it, but our thesis is that women's nocturnal erections are just as significant as men's. It's highly likely that they are. The penis and the clitoris emerge in the same embryological tissue. They're homologous. And the value of the device, we're measuring engorgement of the clitoris. We're measuring blood flow. We're also measuring temperature. We're measuring pulse, measuring some other parameters. But our primary focus is on blood flow at the clitoris. Now, postmenopausal women have all the same problem that men do with obesity, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, things that are decreased, blood flow. Premenopausal women take hormones, many, for birth control, and they take antidepressants. 4 to 10 times as many antidepressants as men do, depending upon the study. Both those medications, hormones and antidepressants, decrease blood flow, have a negative impact upon the health of the clitoris, upon sexual health. We don't know what the right doses are. We doctors stupidly treat everyone as if they're one size fits all. All women will initially be prescribed the same dose of antidepressant. We prescribe the same dose of birth control hormone. What's the right dose for them? We don't know, because we're unable to assess the function. We're unable to assess the organ that one of the organs that will have a major impact on, which is the clitoris. So with a device, women and the healthcare providers will be able to say, what's the right dose? Maybe we shouldn't, and I think that would be more the case, maybe we shouldn't be prescribing this at all, because the impact is clearly so negative.
Yeah, well, I'd be really interested to understand that data. Do you think there's something fundamental that men should understand about women's sexual health, so that partners can support each other?
It's always a dicey question to ask a man about women.
I know, right?
They don't like us, making presumptions. So I do think I just put this. I think that frequent sex for women is going to be just as important as frequent sex for men. And both sexes come up with excuses for not having sex, and they need to frankly confront those excuses and have sex more frequently.
That's 100% true. And I think it's sometimes said that. Yeah,
let me look at that question a little bit differently. I think we like to talk about the importance of communication in relationships, but sometimes communication can be problematic. We also, in the field of sexual health, for men and for women, we overemphasize the new phrase being penetrative sex. We went from intercourse to penetrative sex. I don't know why, but the emphasis for both parties tends to be in relationship tends to be on penetrative sex. But we know that's not what people are actually doing who have successful relationships. People who have successful relationships tend to have more oral and manual sex than penetrative sex. It's hard for women to climax during penetrative sex. Many women can't. The clitoris is not there. The clitoris, successful relationships, the men either use oral and manual stimulation on their partners. So if the guys aren't doing that, they need to open their minds a little bit about that. But women also, the reverse is true as well too. There's an expectation that men want penetrative sex more than anything else. And if you talk to men, if you look at surveys, that's not the case. And the most common story that I hear, Grant, if you don't mind my getting graphic, is, and this is guys in their 40s, 50s, 60s, men in relationships, men who have psychological AD, is they get hard with their partner. They go down on their partner because that's how the partner comes. And then their partner is now, they're usually the female partner, is now in her just take me, just fuck me, mindset. And the men, that's not what the men want. The men want more, the men want oral and manual stimulation because there's more friction that way. Because a climax in sex for a man is about friction. And a woman or male partner, but a hand or a mouth have a lot more, can provide a lot more friction and tactile stimulation in successful relationships. That's what, but I've spoken to like almost 200 men now. That's what men want. And I think that men who are sexually sophisticated understand the importance of the clitoris now. The other guys who are out there were ignorant and stupid about it. But women, I think, don't necessarily understand what it is that, at least we're talking to men, or men have difficulty communicating this to their partners. Maybe that's part of the problem as well too. Men have difficulty telling their partners, no, I don't want penetrative sex. I want your hand. And especially, so I know people need to, be more, in a successful relationship, need to be clearer with their partners about what it is that really gets them off.
Yeah, no, 100%. Open communication is a massive part to that, and both getting the pleasure that you want from the act at the end of the day. So I think that's a fantastic way to end our conversation. But just to wrap things up, what would be the one thing that you would like our listeners to take away from this conversation, and how would people get in contact with you if they wanted to get in contact with you?
Sure. The key takeaways are, one, you now can get the data of your sexual and cardiovascular health objectively with our device or the AM device. I mean, our device has a broad functionality of the AM device. Two, most men don't actually have dysfunction. They just have a problem. And the problem is, as they get older, they don't maintain blood in their penis as long as they did when they were young. And the ring, a comfortable ring, is an effective solution to that problem. And the last one is, probably the more sex you have, the healthier and happier you'll be. So put a ring on and get it on.
Put a ring on it. That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. So just for both our US and UK listeners, there'll be a link in the description for the ring that we've been talking about. There'll be a different link for US customers and UK customers, so just pay attention to that if you're in a UK or US location. Is there any other thing that you'd like, if our customers wanted to get in contact with you or your company, what's the best way to do that?
You can go to myfirmtech, MyFirmtech, myfirmtech.com. You can reach me personally at Elliot, ELLIOT, at myfirmtech.com.
Excellent. Cool. All right. Well, Elliot, thank you very much for joining me today. The conversation has made one thing very, very clear, and I will be thinking about this moving forward for all my clients, which is sexual health is definitely not separate to health and longevity. It's intertwined with it. And I think that's really, really important. It's connected to your sleep, your stress, recovery, hormones, blood flow, confidence, relationships, and obviously long-term performance. And if our mission in Revo, in the BioAge Index, is to reclaim as many years of optimal life as possible and as many people as possible, then we have to stop ignoring the signals that tell us where the system is drifting. We want more people, more energy, less drag on our system, and obviously we want more years reclaimed. And that's how we live better, longer. And I congratulate anyone who takes control of their sexual health. And if you want to get in contact, everything will be in the description. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Elliot Justin. And I'll see you guys on the next episode.